Hi everyone, and welcome to another live stream. Today we'll be speaking with Waniya, who is a Native American from South Dakota. So we'll be speaking to her today about the struggles, the challenges that they currently face. We know the pipelines, the oil drilling that's going on right now, some of the challenges that Native Americans are being faced with currently. So there's a lot going on um, that we need to be aware of, educated about. And I'm trying to get one here online. So let's see if I can get through to her. Okay, not. Let's go. I'm seeing if I can add her. So Wanya posted something very important on her page today. Well, not today, a few days ago, and she stated that 1 in 3 Indigenous women will go murdered, missing, or stolen. I knew if we didn't take these classes, no one would be there to protect us. So we have no choice but to protect ourselves. I knew that what affects our women has a direct impact on our communities. It was so uplifting, and women are our own heroes, our protectors, and our own backbone. And that is very, very important. I wanted Wanya to share a little on that once she's able to come online and be able to share some of the struggles that's going on, because similar to African Americans, similar to Hispanics and Latinos, Native Americans are also being faced with lots of challenges, and we want to understand from the voice of a native what are some of those challenges that they're being faced with. So let us see if she is able to come on. So I want you to think, everyone in the corner of the world, wherever you are, think of what are some of the challenges that you are facing. Think of how severe it is. But sometimes we do not realize, or we do not think about all the individual struggles. When we're in our zone and we have those challenges, we think that our challenges are the worst. And we tend not to be educated about the challenges that other people go through. So today the goal of this show, why I do that every weekend, is because everyone around the world has a voice that they want to share. Sometimes we know that the media is not sharing those messages, not letting be keeping us informed. So I want us to voice our opinion. This way, by interviewing people, the goal is for us to be able to hear stories directly from those that are affected, those that are impacted, or those that can contribute. So that's the purpose of why I interview different people from different parts of the world, from different backgrounds, and from different challenges. Mm. Let's see, Tana Thunberg. Okay, Tana wants to. Um, okay. What on earth we're going to? Okay. Okay, so it's been. I'm trying to see what we need to do. So anyone who has experienced any form of challenges, any form of oppression, any form of persecution because of either being a minority during that time, please feel free to go ahead and share and go ahead and post some of the struggles that you have gone through, because we want to share those and bring to light to everyone that each one of us go through our own struggles. But we have to be able to unite and be unified for us to understand how to handle those struggles, and be able to overcome those struggles. So I am not sure whether one here has any service at this moment. And let me see. I'm going to read some questions for you guys that I want you to reflect on. I'm pulling it at this moment. Sometimes we need to find out whether we are culturally sensitive. And being culturally sensitive is knowing how to be able to understand individual struggles, understand our limitations, and know when someone is going through something, how we can offer empathy, care, kindness. And just because we ourselves have not gone through it, that doesn't mean we have to be insensitive about what a person is going through. Okay, I will go ahead and get a copy of that and I will be right back. Okay, so some of the questions. If you want to build on your cultural sensitivity, understand where some of your challenges lie. One is, when did you first become aware of racial or ethnic differences? Or when did you become aware that people are There are different people in this world. Think about it and try to see when, because I know there are some people who probably didn't even realize that there were brown skinned people or darker skinned people or anyone that looked different or light skinned people, anyone that looked different. So that's one way. So you reflect back as to when was the first time you realized that there were different people in existence on this earth with us. The second question, share a situation when you were in the minority. For me, as I stated to some friends, usually I don't feel as if I'm in the minority because I embrace the room in which I am in. Even if I am the minority in reality, I don't recognize it because I believe I bring way more to the table than just the color of my skin. So I try to embrace what I bring and what I have. But I understand that with certain communities, certain areas, the prejudice, the stereotypes, the insensitivity is there. Um, and then describe a time you witnessed discrimination. So it can be discrimination within your own home, within your community, with at your work. Um, Sometimes we witness stuff and we don't say or do anything about it. We figured, hey, it is what it is. This is history. History will continue repeating itself because there's nothing we can do as one individual. But in reality, it takes one individual to actually make those changes. So if you look at history, many individuals from the light bulbs to okay, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Thomas Edison, they all invented something that impacted humanity for a long, long time and is still impacting them. And it took that just that one person to make that change. So when we stay within our comfort zone and we say, hey, you know what, there's nothing I can do to change history. This has been going on in America for a long time. There's nothing we can do. Or in my hometown or whatever part of the world that I come from, there's nothing I can do. In reality, there's a lot you can do. You just have to find your comfort or your way of service, not comfort, because we have been in that comfort for many years. So you have to find out what is your potential and what you bring to the table, because we all can bring something to the table. For example, at my daughter's school, we're having a field day. Great at organizing events and building human relations. So I went and I created that we're creating that event for her. Let me see. While I'm talking, I'm trying to see if Waniya was able to come on, and she still has not received service. So where's my phone? Another question is, how do you respond to jokes that are demeaning? Sometimes people say jokes and it's just really belittling. How do you respond to demeaning jokes? Keep in mind there are different kinds of jokes. There are jokes that are not demeaning. There are jokes that people say all the time. I'm not talking about these kind of regular day-to-day jokes. I'm talking about jokes that are racially supported, that embraces stereotypes, this kind of jokes. For example, our Mexicans are coming over to take our jobs. You hear all the time that those jovial stuff. And just because you're part of that race or part of that culture or part of that ethnicity, that still does not provide you with the right to go ahead and make jokes about a culture that faces certain kind of form of persecution and using that persecution as a form for monetary gain or form for you to, because when we make certain jokes, it re-traumatizes individuals, and we do not want to re-traumatize individuals. It's just like a war veteran, if you who has lost his some limbs, and if you go and you make certain jokes about losing the limbs, hey, I see you left your legs in. Oh, Wanya is on, nice. So I am going to add her right now. Let's see. Okay. I sent you the invite one here, so you can just go ahead and accept it. Oh, I'm adding. Okay, let's see. So you can go ahead and accept it. So I am getting excited because Waniya will be joining us pretty shortly. I was just trying to kill time and get us engaged, but I do want to ask you guys sincerely to think about what is your limitations? What do you bring to the table? Because we have a lot of challenges going on throughout the world, and we have to learn how we can come together collectively. Okay, so I am going to, let's see. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry, Tana, I cannot add you on right now because we're having a special guest on. Oh, here you are. Oh, man, it's going to allow me to add you. Okay, so I'll have to. So, okay, so one, yeah, I'm going to end and I'm going to call you back because it's not allowing me to add you. Oh, let's see. Oh, okay, approved. Nice. Oh, you're awesome, Waya.
Hi.
Oh my Hi, how are you?
I'm actually doing really good. I'm doing really, really good. Um, there's a lot of things that Lakota country that is facing. Lakota Dakota country is facing. So, we're known as the Ocheti Shakoin. That's including 7 bands and 22 sub bands within those 7 bands. And we're facing a lot of different things. Dakota Access Pipeline is the one that got national recognition. We had 748 tribes come and stand with Standing Rock and in opposition of Dakota Access Pipeline drilling under the Missouri River, and that will affect 17 million people. But but we would be the first ones, including my family, as you've been to my house actually before, and you've seen that it will when Dakota Access Pipeline breaks, it will only take 45 minutes for it to reach our water intake. And so that's why the whole community stood up, and that's why we were in opposition of a pipeline coming in. But we're leaning towards saying extraction industries because we want to be inclusive and recognizing that extraction industries are really dangerous along with corporations because not only like pipelines cannot exist without fracking fields, and that's like the gas and the oil fields. And then, but we also got uranium and we got gold and we got copper. There's a whole list of that is included in the extraction industry. And so, Indigenous women in North America are really facing the effects of it because we're the number one murdered and missing women, and we have the highest rate of crimes done upon us. And because of the legal loopholes within jurisdiction over who has jurisdiction, uh, the perpetrators are not held in in they're not being adjudicated because of that. So there's just a lot that we're facing, and I really want to know what was going on in the islands over there. What's going on with you guys and the women uprise?
So I am in Delaware, but in St. Lucia, we have a lot of things are going on, within our family, within on the island, women are almost to the same standard as men. So we do have our struggles, but it's not anywhere close to what you guys are going through. So, what we wanted, I personally wanted to educate because we know sometimes, like African Americans, Latinos, they all go through things, but you do not hear many times as to what the Native Americans are going through. And
Yeah.
we wanted to bring to light to all our audience because we're in existence in America all together. And we want to let people know that it's not just one group of people suffering, but all the people are suffering. And right now, you guys have a lot going on in South Dakota right now.
Yeah, because like in the Sisseton Wahpeton area, which is about 4 hour drive from my house, we got the capo industry going on, and so what a lot of people don't realize is like what we eat. So like the chickens, the beef, the pork, any type of dairy that we got going on. So the extraction industry only does 1/3 of the world's damage. The other 2/3 of the world damage is industrial agriculture because we have to grow crops for like 50,000 head of cattle, and that we're all consuming. So
Hmm.
so one of the best ways to combat the capo industry is to go organic and limited what type of product you're actually eating when it comes to, and making sure that because like for me, I'm a meat eater personally. I don't touch anything that has dairy in it, but like I can't let go of my meat. But I make sure that the beef is, or the buffalo, the deer, that it is organic meat that we're consuming. So that's what's going on in the Sisseton Wahpeton area. And then in the Black Hills, they're facing the uranium, and thankfully they haven't done construction yet. But The bores in the Black Hills from the uranium from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, those are still open in the Black Hills. And in May of 2017, EPA ruled that those companies don't have to close those bores, so that uranium is still poisoning the local community in the Black Hills, but it's also going into the water aquifers, the water ducts, and the streams. And they're trying to reopen up new uranium bores in the Black Hills. That's what we're fighting right now. Like, you didn't even clean up your first mess from over 30 years ago. Now you're trying to reopen up new bores. So we're fighting uranium in the Black Hills, but we also got gold going on in the Black Hills, and that's what encroached on our treaty rights in the first place. So ironically, this is the 150th anniversary for the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. And so Lakota and Dakotas gathered at Fort Laramie in 1868, and they made a truce with the United States government, because the fact of the matter is we were whooping on the government. We were dominating because, one, this was our land, so we knew the layout of our land, but we also had the manpower back then. So the government was the one that called the truce, and they're the ones that designed a treaty with us and said, hey, this area will be all Lakota, Dakota territory, and you guys can reside on this land. And unbeknownst to the higher ups, Custer went in with his constituents, and that's General Custer. He encroached on our land, and he did an exploratory search in the Black Hills, and he discovered gold. So his intention was to find the resources in the Black Hills, and he did. He found gold. And once he wrote back to Washington, D.C., again, this is in the late 1800s, it was like 1888, 89, he informed them that they discovered gold. So then the United States government encroached on our rights again, and this is what started the whole uprise of us fighting back, because we were fighting back to begin with, but then they discovered gold. But that's just how the United States government rolls, and along with these corporations, is they find loopholes and they try to extract and exploit who we are. So currently, right now, our riders took off on April 14th this year, and they're commemorating. So they're riding into Fort Laramie right now. They made it past Hot Springs yesterday, and they're still en route. They're going to Fort Robertson tonight. Why is Fort Robertson so important? Because that's where Crazy Horse was killed. He was killed by the soldiers down in Fort Robertson. And he was a really well-known resistor, extremely well-known resistor throughout Lakota, Dakota history. Crazy Horse was just like, we never surrender, and he never did. I mean, that's why they had to kill him, because he never surrendered. So that's where our riders are going in. Our riders are going to arrive at Fort Laramie on April 27th. But the huge celebration isn't going to be until April 29th, so within a week. Anyone that has ever endured a ride with us knows that it's all done in prayer. And the whole time that we are suffering, because, like if you ever rode horse for 38 miles a day, you're physically, you're physically drained. So you have to really rely on those prayers. So we're asking everyone to pray for our riders as they go into Fort Laramie. And so those are the three things that we're facing. And we also got the KXL fight. So the KXL is a Canadian company. It's Trans-Canada, and they're part of the fracking in Canada, and they're trying to bring this oil pipeline down and crossing. So that we're in opposition of that. I'm really thankful for the previous pipeline fighters, because this is the third time they're taking it on. They have successfully taken on the KXL pipeline 3 times and defeated it all 3 times, and they have to go around. My cousin Joy Braun with IEN, she nicknamed it the zombie pipeline because it will never go away. They keep forcing it, and all 3 times they have successfully defeated it. So what's going on with Dakota Access Pipeline is that we're still fighting. The best way to help with Dakota Access Pipeline now is the divestment campaign, and really divesting, knowing where your money is, but not only like your personal banking, but where is your retirement fund at?
Mhm.
Where are your savings accounts, where are they all going? And we really recommend that you use a credit union, and we've really been pushing the divestment campaign, not only as individuals but as other corporations too, including cities. So anyone that has been following me knew that I was given the opportunity to go to New York City and testify at New York City Council, and asking them to divest their retirement, and which they did, and they ended up successfully um, divesting $90 billion
Oh,
just from
congratulations.
just from their retirement funds. That's
Mhm.
not including their personal banking. That was all the retirement funds from city employees.
Mhm.
So that was a huge step, and we're really pushing all of this. Like, we have to divest, um, and recognizing that ETP is the parent, Energy Transfer and Partners is the parent company of Dakota Access Pipeline, but Dakota Access Pipeline has other sibling pipelines. So the Miriam Pipeline in Pennsylvania, there's still a camp, and they're still in resistance right now. Um, just a little over a week ago, a grandmother who had eminent domain used on her, meaning that the government gave permission for the company to go on her land. She was
Oh.
standing in opposition, and the company went over there, and the security went over there and targeted the grandmother, and they ended up slamming her to the ground and creating a lump in her head, but a mild concussion also. And that's with the Miriam pipeline. So then you slide over to the Bio Bridge pipeline in Louisiana, and they're also in opposition of Dakota Access Pipeline. But Dakota Access Pipeline starts up in the Bakken in North Dakota, and it crosses down through Standing Rock, and then it goes over towards um, Aberdeen, and then it swings over from by Sioux Falls, and diagonally crossing Iowa into Illinois. But the tail end of Dakota Access, the tail end, is the Bio Bridge pipeline, and that pipeline is still a part of Dakota Access Pipeline, and it is just located in Louisiana. And then we got the Trans-Pecos pipeline in Texas, and that one is a really sad case because it's taking over the indigenous communities, but it also brings up so many more issues, like what's going on with our brothers and sisters in Mexico, because this pipeline is not only on the United States land, but it's also on the Mexico border, but it's also crossing like all the local indigenous communities like Wichita, and the Kickapoo. It's crossing all of their lands, but it also shows like the difference in how brown communities and white communities are treated within there. It was just like, whoa, there's so many lines that just watching this one go down, because like I had the privilege to go and stand with them in September, and there was a huge difference, like how I was treated to a non-native who was standing with us.
Mhm.
And we had to
Can
take
you give us
we
an
took on
example,
all
please?
of the um, we just had to endure it and continue standing. Then we're go over with Rover. So over with the Rover is in Iowa. Again, these pipelines are all with Energy Transfer and Partners. They're all sisters and brothers to Dakota Access Pipeline. But the reason why Over with the Rover made such headline news is because they had numerous breaks, and it's not even completed yet. Like
Mhm.
the pipeline broke over there, and it broke literally poisoning into the wetlands and the attributors of Ohio. So that's why we're really watching Over with Rover pipeline, and all of these pipelines are associated with Dakota Access and Energy Transfer and Partners, and that's why we're really pushing. There's so many levels of resistance that people can do. They don't realize that them sharing or liking a post makes a huge difference, or them
Yeah.
talking to their neighbor, or them talking to their racist
Mhm.
uncle, because we all have that one uncle that's just an asshole, you know? And we're like, look, you voted for Trump, and now we have to deal with you and Trump. And but they're family, so you can't
Yeah.
exclude them. And it's hard. I know it's hard because I deal with that all the time in my own family. Like, especially when you're awoke as you are, and we all have that racist one relative that's just racist, and they just don't get it. Like, this is oppression, and oppression, it comes on all levels and all forms.
Mhm.
Like for me and you, because me and you are women of color, that's
Correct.
one strike. For just being a woman, that's another strike. And then
Correct.
for, yeah, so there's just all these levels of oppression that we got going on. That's including
And
our men too. So our men are being, especially our brown men, our men of color are also being oppressed. And we're just, we just got to really empower each other. And one of the things I really realized from camp and being associated with camp is, that saying, um, a man and a woman is the two wings of one bird.
oh yes,
We,
uh-huh.
just as much as we are empowering women, we have to empower our men the same.
Correct.
We have to really have that balance between man and woman and empower each other, because even though I had misogynistic assholes stand against me, I also had men that stood up for me. And then
Yeah.
recognizing those men and really, I thank you. I thank you for standing beside me. I
Oh,
thank you for um for being, like a whole rounded person.
yeah.
And I think, like, all of our social ailments straight across the board, it doesn't matter if you're fighting for Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter if you're fighting pipelines, it doesn't matter if you're fighting for the LGBTQ, it doesn't matter what you're fighting for, especially for our trans sisters. um so after the indigenous, um the murdered and missing indigenous women, the second one is trans women that are targeted.
Yes,
And I'm
correct.
just, yeah, so it's just like, so we just really got to stand up. It doesn't matter which form of oppression you have, you can stand up. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, like, if, like, I'm a teacher by trade, like that's what I went to school for, and that's what I ended up becoming. And then my people are being oppressed by a corporation, so we had no choice to stand up. But we had so many people with different talents come in, that all those talents tapped in, and everyone that has been in resistance longer than me are always amazed, like, oh man, Standing Rock did something that I've never seen before.
Yes.
And but the reason why is because everyone can understand oppression. Every
Yeah.
group who came in can understand what it means to be oppressed and not to be free. And every group can identify, plus everybody drinks water, everyone.
Exactly. And can I add something to that? Because many of the men, the minorities, the Native American men, they, as Linda stated, they are fearful for their life. And when we realize that the problems we are going through is not individualized, because when we look at the media will not say Native Americans and African Americans, or Native American, African Americans, Hispanics, or Latinos and poor Caucasians. They will separate it where each one faces a different problem, but we have to realize that we're all facing a human rights problem, and we have to be able to, yeah, come together collectively, not isolate each problem, because at the end of the day, our African American brothers being killed for walking the streets, being of different color, our Native American sisters and mothers are being kidnapped, are being stolen, are being murdered. And then not forgetting the pipelines that's going on, because we find or certain, as you say, not corporations, um, but this certain group of people, because they see the wealth that they can gain from it, they allow wealth and
Yeah.
greed to be the forerunner, and the rights of us human beings being not even secondary, but it's way beyond that line. So we want to thank you, Wanya, for all what you're doing and pushing for. And I do want to tell everyone who is watching and listening, at the end of the day, we're on this earth together. Yes, the lands have been taken from the Native Americans, and we will, not we, but African Americans were forced to come here to America. The indigenous service Caucasian people that came from Europe that came here, they were suffered as well, which are the poor Caucasian individuals, the Hispanics.
Hmm.
So, Wanya, go on and share your story.
So it was just, I just really want people to recognize that just everything that you said, that we are the original people of this land, and that that we have been the caretakers for the past thousands of years, and it wasn't until the past 400 years that we have been oppressed. And so just acknowledging that, yes, we are the first ones, but also acknowledging that colonization is the birth of oppression. And even the language we're speaking right now, that's part of oppression. The language of English that you're speaking right now, that's oppression. And and getting back to our roots, and people wonder why, like, I was able to stand so strong and through that whole thing. One, it was prayer, like straight up, just relying on prayer and having literally like having everyone pray for me. That's why I was so strong. But the second reason was because my foundation, I knew I was Lakota. I knew I was on Lakota land, and I was able to stand on my own land, speak our own language. And that laid a huge firm foundation on it. So like, even though like I'm always pushing for our own language to be spoken and our own history to be known and our own culture, but I think that needs to go straight across the board for whoever. If you are Finnish, because people always assume that the tribes in Europe are not being extinct, but the Finnish people are. Their language, they only have like 30 fluent speakers left for Finnish.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And, you know, and so like, I think that it doesn't matter which tribe you are, and it doesn't matter where you come from. You really need to know who you are, what your people are, and defend from corporations and the governments that come be. I personally have lost faith in the current system that we have now, but I still vote. People always look at me and they're like, that's a contradiction. I was like, oh, I know. Oh, I so know it's a contradiction. Yeah. Oh, I know my vote don't count, but I'm still going to have my right to bitch and complain about it. So I'm going to go throw my vote in. So one of the things is we got 4 candidates here that I really love and appreciate here within South Dakota. So we got Ali Moran. She's running in South Dakota. We got Faith Spotted Eagle. She's also running. And then we got Tamara St. John. And we got
that's great.
Red Dawn. Yeah, so we got four Native representatives, and they're all female. And I really empower that. I just like,
oh my God, this is awesome. Power to the women.
Yeah, so I'm just like, those 4 women I really stand with, and those 4 women are the ones that I'm just like, you guys can make the change. I have your back, go in full force. So even though and again, like, I don't ever want to oppose my own point of views, but like I completely lost faith on September 2nd when the dog attacks happened on Standing Rock.
Yes.
That's when I lost complete faith in the system and recognizing that this is oppression. And those are 4 women running in South Dakota that I really support.
So I want to, sorry, I want to say something, Waniya. When we talk about losing faith and feeling as if like we don't have much power, I use the pyramid level. And many times people say, oh, the 1% has control of everything. And I tell people, let us rethink. Does the 1% really have control of everything? When you do the base, up here is the 1%. And down here we have the base. If the base are made out of the minorities and made out of the little people, the base is way larger than that point or that 1%. But we are sometimes so divided that we don't realize together we make the strength of the pyramid. And without us, that 1% is of nothing. Monetary value cannot buy what we provide. So I want to let everyone know that wherever you come from, with those 4 women running, I love the dogs in the background.
I know, it cracks me up. I know, that's why I was laughing. Like,
yeah,
wow, you can tell I'm on the bread.
Facial expression, but it's all good. It shows that there's life around you. But I was going back to the 4%. I mean, the 1%. Always keep in mind that we fall within that pyramid. And It is best
Mhm.
for us to be at the base because we lay the foundation as to how we should be treated. You went to New York and you stated what you wanted. You go on the front lines and you push forth. You let people know how we should be treated. It's no longer how we were treated, but how we should be treated right now, right then. And
Mhm.
everyone that's listening, just remember, if you fall within that base, you have a lot of power that you do not realize. You just have to tap within yourself and find out where is your strength. You might realize that you have one arm full of power and the other one, and when both come together, it's lightning and thunder, just like one here.
Yep. Mhm. No, no, and then utilizing whatever your strengths are. Like for me, I like to talk, right? I can sit down and talk to a whole group of people and feel comfortable. But I'm not an artist, so I can't draw a mural. So I'm gonna hit one of my bros up and be like, I know you can paint. I know you're a strong artist. Can you make this? The same thing with my other cousin who's a strong writer. Like, can you write this article stating these facts? And she can totally bust it out. So that's the other thing about resistance and movement is that you don't have to be on the front lines because even though we had over 25,000 people in camp, we had over 1 million people supporting us.
Okay, leave
And
the
so you don't,
technique.
yeah, and that's all a part of resistance. It's including everybody, and it's including all of these struggles, and being there and being able to throw down and whatever your talent is, that's what you do for resistance. So like I said, I like to talk, so I can talk to anybody about any issue. And then one of my other friends is a really good singer, so she's going to sing about resistance. And being on the front lines is a part of movement. It's not the movement, and that's what I really stress.
Yes.
The
I'm
front
sorry.
line is necessary.
I'm listening to you, but I'm also smiling at some of the comments that are being
Yeah.
written. Laurie GMA Gamma. Laurie
Hmm.
stated that you like to talk, I like to listen. So I was not being rude. I was just laughing at the comments.
Yeah. So just exercising whatever talents you have, and use it to your best ability for resistance. And it does have to be every day, but it does not have to overtake your life. And because we all
Yes.
have children, we all have a family that we have to take care of, and so you take a little bit each day, and that's what it means to be in resistance. Like
Yes,
going to a
definitely.
rally is resistance. Holding a sign is resistance. Switching your own personal house to solar panel is resistance. To catching rain is resistance. Um, to planting your garden is resistance. And then standing on the front line is resistance. But it's all interlooped together, and that's what brings the change. Um, I also believe that we need to really empower our youth because even though like we as adults were doing all these amazing things, it was our runners from Standing Rock, it was our youth from Standing Rock, and for the rest of Ocheti Shakoi from all the other Lakota bands that got us known. I mean, they ran from Cannonball to Omaha, Nebraska to hand over our petition to the Army Corps of Engineers, and then they ran from Cannonball again all the way to Washington, D.C. to hand over their petition to Obama, asking him to reject the permit from Army Corps of Engineers which was granted. And it's just like it's just like all it was our youth. And so, like, as we're finding our own talents within resistance, we also got to empower our youth. We got to teach them. We got to teach them everything. We got to teach them treaty rights. We got to teach them our language. We got to teach them all of this. But then we also got to teach them how to live without convenience, and realizing that electricity is just like a flip, and conserving it. And then conserving like our production, like the produce that we're taking in, and conserving. And it's just like it's a whole method. And I really stress that we need to teach the youth. And even though like adults were throwing down, it was the youth that got us recognition. It was the youth
Yes.
that literally put the
And
footwork in.
And I want to talk about the power of the youth. Youth are very, very powerful. And we do, if you have any teenagers at home, young adults at home, you need to utilize the energy. because youth are extremely, extremely powerful in changing the world, changing your nation, changing community. I use the analogy that youth are the connectors. The youth,
Yep.
yeah, picture yourself being the youth. Being in between, you are between the adult generation and the children's generation. You have
Mm-hmm.
the power to change the adult generation, influence them, as well as the children. We know as adults, whatever that was not handled through our parents, it was passed down to us. And that caused a ripple effect, an increase in prejudice, an increase in poverty. We also had a lot of stereotypes and other things being faced. But if depending on how we as adults treat the youth, then right now the youth are being faced with cyberbullying, comments about kill yourself, you're not worth it, about all the problems that we didn't handle. They're being faced with it, but then we bombard them and say, oh, your generation is the worst. You guys are uncontrollable. But yet, if we empower them, they have the power to change 3 generations. When you hear the notion or the phrase youth can move the world, youth can move the world because we just have to empower them in moving the world and changing the world. And then something else I want to add on a little as to what you were saying, Waniya, to divert a little, is that when you look at movies, I remember when I was growing up, all the Indian movies that you're watching, how the stereotypes influence generational cycles of prejudice. You have all the Indian movies where all the Indians were terrible people and they were bad people and they were trying to take the land or they were trying to take something back from those movies, where it starts with the brainwashing of not knowing what exactly Native Americans are going through. And we just want to let people know, like right now it's 2018, and we have to come to light to realize that there is a lot of prejudice going on. There's a lot of stereotypes and assumptions. We have to know our limits because each of us do have those limits and we are biased in some ways, but we have to understand where we are and try to able to overcome those biases for us to be able to work together. 1 year. I know I did not have the honor of meeting your mom, but you speak, your energy level is so much like her. I have not met her, but all the stories I was told about her, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, can you share? I remember when I came to South Dakota, I think it was 4 years before that your mom had passed away, and she had
No, my
passed.
mom's still alive. It was
Oh,
it
okay.
was my
Sorry, talking
aunt that
about
you're talking
your
about.
aunt.
My it was my mom's sister, but she's like an other mother who passed away 4 years ago. Um, but my mom,
I
I
know
have
your
more than one
grandma, your
mother.
grandma. Sorry, your grandma.
Oh yeah, so I have one more than one mom. So I have the mother that actually birthed me, but I have a lot of women that helped raise me,
Yeah, no,
and
I'm talking
I'm
about
really
your
thankful
grandma.
all of them for standing by and watching me and do everything and for teaching me. And so my biological mother, she's a strong, fierce woman. She braved it and came to live with the Lakota people, and I always make fun
Mhm.
of her for that. Like, you still here? They're crazy here. And she's like, I know, but my mom is still really cool, and she likes it here, and she found her people here.
Yeah.
So, but
But
I have more than one mother, and I have all of her sisters who are my mothers too, and that's cultural. Like
yes,
that's a true Lakota belief
I'm
that
sorry.
your
Everyone
mother's
is laughing
sisters
at me.
are
I
all your
messed up.
mothers. Yeah.
But no, I wanted to say your grandma, the one who helped with the education.
Oh, so my grandmother passed. You're talking about Patricia Locke,
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, yep. So Patricia Locke passed away in 2001, and she was one of the co-founders of the tribally controlled colleges that are throughout North America now. There's over 36 tribally controlled colleges. One of them is Sitting Bull College, right on Standing Rock right now. But she was also a co-founder of American Higher Education Consortium, otherwise known as AHEC, and so she really pushed for Indian education, and she also pushed for indigenous languages. So like a lot of the state codes and tribal codes that we have for revitalization of our languages, those are all written by my grandmother Patricia Locke. And
Yes.
she's a fierce woman. Yeah, and she was actually one of the first of her along with 5 others. So
Mhm.
her along with 4 others were one of the first ones to ever graduate with the college degree in North America that was indigenous to this land. And she taught at UCLA in
Mhm.
California. She taught at University of Boulder. She was just a really trendsetter beyond her time, and all of her work that she did is what we're standing on now.
Yeah, so the reason why I brought your grandma Patricia Lock's name up and her story up is because sometimes we think we cannot change history. And
Mm-hmm.
because we think we cannot change history, we stay within our comfort zone and we do not want to come out for fear of being retaliated, for fear of being the weirdo, or fear of being excluded within the large group. But your grandma, Miss Patricia Locke, she actually stepped outside that zone for her to make sure that the upcoming generation are well taken care of in the education area, that their language, the Lakota language, and I still have my little Lakota book, the Lakota language is embraced and it is taught to the people that that language will not be forgotten. So
Yeah.
when we think that we cannot change the world or we cannot change our community, it just starts with us getting outside our comfort zone. And your mom laid that foundation for you. Your grandma laid that foundation for you.
Yeah, she's one of them. Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely one of the ones. But there's a lot of grandmothers and there's a lot of mothers.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely one of them.
Correct. And because I've heard so many stories about her, this is why I'm using her as the example. But I do agree that they have many more that I do not know of, and I would love to get to know about their stories. And now you're laying the foundation for the upcoming generations. So we want to thank you for all the services, all the sacrifices, and pushing forward in making sure that the Native American community are able to be treated and that the land that you guys feed from is well taken care of as how it has been for many years.
That's dope. Well, I appreciate it, but like I've always said, I'm one of many. I've
Correct.
always said that, and I know that. Like I know I couldn't do any of this alone, and I had a lot of help every single step of the way, and I continue to get help as is, and a lot of guidance. So,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I hope you guys have a good day. I have
Yes.
to get going, but thank you for
Thank
this
you.
time, and I'm glad you asked me to do this, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Yes,
Yoksha.
okay. So thank you very much. All the best. Bye.